Tell me what I'm doing wrong. Trying to find it back to your heart. Tell me what I'm doing wrong. But I faked it from the start. Get you on mine more than all of these others. And when I'm with you, baby, trust me, I don't want no other. We had a couple good nights, couple late night romances.
What up? What up? What up? What up? What up? What up?
Had a couple good late nights.
What up, y'all? What up, y'all? What up, y'all? What up, y'all? We here, we back, we live, we are in the building. It's your boy TPJ, and ooh, I got the trade deadline thing up there. That's the wrong one. But anyways, it's your boy TPJ. We're here. We're live. This is the 2-for-1 show. Pretty much my NBA recap show where we pretty much dive into the latest headlines of what's going on inside the NBA. As well as talk about just, whatever's going on. As always on a 2-for-1 show, I appreciate you all. This is a late night show. So if you're watching, no matter where you are around the world, make sure you drop a comment. Let me know what city you're in, what city you are watching from right now. It is currently 10:19 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I am in Los Angeles. So if you are watching this around the world, I appreciate you for tuning in, man. It's your boy TPJ. I'm here. I'm live. I got my brew. Spent a long day being a dad, which is always great. Love being a dad, and now the baby's asleep. Now it's time to talk some basketball, man. Obviously, the thing that everyone wants to talk about is LeBron James. He has accomplished a feat that most people, including myself, thought that would never be possible. And I think that it's a testament to his physical, stamina, his mental stamina, just his overall durability, his ability to just play smart, take rest within games. I mean, I think LeBron at this point he's if he was at 100% when he was winning MVP in terms of capacity, he's probably at like 73%. But that 73% is still better than 90% of the league. So I think that at this point in his career, once LeBron dips below that 65% on his life meter in terms of basketball, he'll stop. Or barring a major injury, which I hope doesn't happen. I want to see LeBron continue to win and do well. It's great for basketball. He's never going to pass Michael Jordan, so all the, Jordan fanatics are going to stay Jordan fanatics. All the Magic fanatics will stay Magic fanatics, and so on and so forth. So, I don't really get too caught up in the LeBron James, is he the GOAT, is he not the GOAT? He's not my GOAT, so I don't really care. I'm just being honest. He's not my GOAT, so I don't really care. But I do think that the feat of passing 40,000 points is actually incredible. To think, because I was even watching a video, and we'll watch some of that later and react to that. But even just to think that, back in the day, sometimes you would have to shoot 3 free throws in order to be awarded 2 points, right? And if you missed a free throw and someone scored it, it was 1 point. But the person that missed the free throw got the point for the free throw. So there's been a lot of weird rules and things of that sort that have taken away not only from what old scorers were able to do, but also added to what they were able to do. Because even just the free throw thing, and imagine how many missed free throws where an offensive rebound was recorded and that person scored, but that bucket or that point might have went to Kareem. You know what I mean? So I don't really get too caught up in the drama. But I think what LeBron has done is amazing, and he deserves a round of applause for that. I don't have any applause in my thing, but he deserves a round of applause for what he's done. I think 20 years is insanity. That level of longevity is crazy. Even when you think about old guys or guys that have played, 32 or around this age, like Jordan was a shell of himself, basically playing on one leg. And Kareem, shell of himself. Wilt, older, shell of himself. And then even if you look at guys like Kevin Willis, who wasn't necessarily like a great player, he was an all-star, but he played until he was like 44, 45, I believe. And he was just like a good quality role bench guy, like a Udonis Haslem type of player. So to see that LeBron is still, I don't think he's top 10 anymore. I think he's more like in that 12 to 14-ish kind of range. And we can go through and I can name who the top 10 people that I think, there are right now a little bit later. But I just think what LeBron has done is amazing. I cover the Lakers-Clippers game, so I witnessed LeBron do that in person. I witnessed that phenomenal performance. I witnessed all of those threes. I was literally in the media booth when LeBron was standing 5 feet behind a three-point line. I'm like, please take a LaFuck you three. Please take a LaFuck you three. And then he just kept taking them, and he kept making them. He outplayed the Clippers by himself in the fourth quarter. He was absolutely phenomenal. And I had only seen LeBron James play in person twice, and the last time I saw him play, he didn't really have a good game versus the Clippers. So to see a vintage LeBron James, virtuoso scoring performance in person, I'm definitely a believer. He's number 2 to me, but, I don't think there's anything wrong with being the second best to ever do something. Like if people regarded me as the second best podcaster ever, like they was like Joe Rogan number 1, TPJ number 2, I would be flattered. You know what I mean? So I wouldn't be upset like, no, I'm the best. Like I don't think I'm the best in the world, but I am one of the best to ever do it, if that makes sense. So shout out to LeBron, man. 40,000 points is crazy. Let's actually pull up what he's did. LeBron, according to StatMuse, he is the only member of the 27,000 points, 7,000 assists, 7,000 rebound club, the 28,000 point, 8,000 assists, 8,000 rebound club, the 29,000 point, 9,000 assists, 9,000 rebound club, the first member of and the only member of the 30,000, 10,000 assists, 10,000 rebound club, the only member of the 35,000 points, 10,000 rebounds, 10,000 assists club, the only member and the only person to ever score 40,000 points in the NBA, record 10,000 assists and 10,000 rebounds. So I think what LeBron has done for his career is like I remember, like I'm 33. I'll be 34 this year. So when LeBron was coming into the league, I was 13. I was like headed into high school. And I remember, LeBron being LeBron. Like, I don't really even know how to describe it other than, like, I just genuinely remember LeBron James being LeBron James. He's always been a virtuoso in terms of basketball. He was the biggest thing smoking back in 2003. He's still the biggest thing smoking or running right now. Even though I do think Giannis, in terms of brand, he will never be as big as LeBron. But I think in terms of this face of the league conversation that everyone has been talking about, I think Giannis is there. I just think that black people view Giannis as corny. So because they view Giannis as corny and they view LeBron as like cool and this hip hop kind of guy, Giannis doesn't really get the level of adulation that I think he deserves. Even like Doc Rivers mentioned it the other day, and we'll talk about the Bucks because we talked a lot about the Bucks, before in terms of their struggles. But overall, I just look at the landscape of hoops and of ball, and I'm like, Giannis is right there. I think people are looking for a new face of the league, but I don't really know why they are looking for a new face of the league. Giannis is literally right there. His English is much, much improved since when he first got started. I understand that they want the young guys like Shea and Luka and Wemby to be the face of the league, but if we're being honest, like Giannis still has 10 more years of basketball left if he wants to play. Like, I don't necessarily, let's see, how many points Giannis career points? Giannis has 18,999 points in his career. Giannis has played, he's played 11 seasons. So, and Giannis did not average over 20 until his third season. So, theoretically, if Giannis could average over 25 a game for the next 8-9 years, he won't get to 40,000, but he might hit 35,000. He could definitely. I think Giannis has the potential to finish his career as a top 5 scorer of all time if he wants to. Giannis has got a career year in terms of numbers. Like he's shooting. Excuse me. And Giannis might be the first person in the history of basketball to score over 30 points per game while shooting over 60% from the field. He's currently shooting 61.9%. He's currently shooting 61.9% from the field goal range. He's actually taking less shots than he took last year. He's actually taking 18.6 shots. That is tied for his second lowest since 2019. So I think to see what he's doing, is incredible. I mean, 2-time MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, 4th MVP voting 3 years ago, 3rd MVP voting 2 years ago, 3rd MVP voting last year, 6th MVP Defensive Player of the Year voting the past 2 years. He's been an All-Star. He's been first team All-Defense, first team All-NBA. So I think Giannis has the potential to maybe crack some of these. Let's see, actually, totals. Giannis total rebounds. Yeah, Giannis has the chance to, I believe, crack the. Actually, I take that back. The shit LeBron is doing is insane, bro. Like, even if I'm looking at Giannis will definitely score more than 27,000 points in his career. I wholeheartedly believe that. He will definitely have more than 7,000 rebounds in his career. He has more than 7,000 right now. So Giannis will definitely get to 10,000 rebounds in his career. He'll definitely get to 30,000 points. But the assist thing is where LeBron is just insane because Giannis is putting up about 360 assists round about a year, averaging around like 5.5 assists. He has 3,751 assists in his career. So, I mean, maybe Giannis can meet LeBron in the 27,000, 7,000, 7,000 club. But, like, I think Luka will. Actually, let's look at what Luka's doing. Let's actually look at what Luka Doncic is doing. Let's look at what Luka's doing, actually. Luka, in 6 seasons, has scored. In 6 seasons, Luka has scored 10,000 points. He's grabbed 3,137 assists and 3,287 rebounds. Now, Luka might be the only one that could maybe catch LeBron because Luka's done this in 6 years, and Luka is still only 25 years old. So let's say theoretically Luka plays 15 more years, right? If he scored 10,000 points, or he basically had 11,000 points in 6 years, double that, that's going to put him at 21,000 in 12 years. By the time he's at 15 years, he's going to at least be at 25,000 points per game. I'm sorry, not per game. He's going to be at least at 25,000 total points per game. I'm sorry, he's going to be at 25,000 total points. Jesus Christ. And then you just add longevity. But even still, to catch LeBron, you would have to, like, the numbers that he would have to play 20 years and average basically what he's basically would have to average over 25 for 20 years. I just don't know how anyone catches what LeBron has done. And in terms of stats, he's a statistical god. There's no arguing that. He's a statistical god. You have to honor everything that he is and everything that he's done. LeBron is a statistical god. And, it is what it is. First and only member of the 40,000 points club, LeBron James. Sorry. That was actually very refreshing. I put an orange orange slice in a Bud Light. Tastes great. Don't drink and drive. Don't drink if you're under 21. But yeah, shout out to LeBron. Now, let's actually talk about the game. Lakers got smoked again. As you can see, the Joker put on a show. 35 points, 10 rebounds, 7 assists. Absolutely abused Anthony Davis and Rui Hachimura. Passing wizard. Jokic is just like, look at this. This is incredible. Like, what are you supposed to do with a guy that has that type of vision, that can rebound, that's as strong as a bear, that you don't want to fight, that has vision like Magic Johnson or LeBron James, and that can do this? Look at that. Backing down. Nope. Give me that. Easy pass. Most big men would have tried to take a hook shot or something. Nah, he's not doing that. I got a lot of respect for Nikola Jokic's game and the way that he is just able to abuse people and still utilize finesse. His level of finesse and the level of just ease with the ball and ease at everything that he's doing, it just makes it, like amazing to watch. And I've actually watched Jokic play, I think maybe 4 or 6 times in person. Every time it's incredible. You're like, how is this guy doing that? So this is wild, by the way. Jokic to AD, he's smacking that man. Lakers fans have been, by the way, Lakers fans need to leave Darvin Ham alone, bro. Lakers fans got to leave Coach D Ham alone, dog. For real, bro. Huh?
James's representative, and a couple things they're really going to look at when they make a decision about leaving school or returning for a sophomore year at USC. Number one,
get out of here, man. All right, look, LeBron, Bronny. Mad respect, G. It's not happening, brother. And if it happens, it only happens sheerly off of nepotism. And I see nothing wrong with black nepotism. I think black nepotism is beautiful. When black people are able to give each other opportunities, it makes my heart smile. All right? It makes my heart smile. So I feel bad for Bronny because he had the heart issue. But we got to stop this, bro. There are real high-level college athletes that are ready to go pro. We need to stop this. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And it's no disrespect to LeBron, no disrespect to Bronny. But let's just be real. Like, people complain about Thanasis, and you could argue if Bronny is better than Thanasis. I don't know. That we will never know. But we can clearly see that, like, this kid is having a tough time getting minutes in college. What makes people think that he's ready for the league? And I get it, LeBron, you want to play with your son, and it's value in that. It's something you can't put a price on. But at the end of the day, we got to stop it. Like, for real, we have to legitimately stop it, because this is it's getting to the point where it's farcical. And like I said, I don't want to sound like I'm coming down on the kid, because I don't dislike Bronny. I got no hate for him. But it's like, to me, he already was not a pro player coming into USC. And I think, given the issues and the time, I just don't know. So let's go ahead. Let's move on, actually. And let's go ahead and hop into the NBA. Uh-oh, we got a guest here. Uh-oh, somebody actually decided to call in. What's good, brother? How you doing tonight? Welcome to the 2-for-1 show. You're here live with your boy TPJ. What's good, bro?
What's good, TPJ?
Shout out to my guy Rose Courts, man. How you doing, man? Talk to the people. Let them know who you are, where you are, what you from, what you do.
What's going on? Rose Courts, you know what I'm saying? Big basketball fan. I said it in another stream. Been following TPJ and Tavi for a grip and a half. You know what I'm saying?
You was the one that was saying that you followed us for since I forgot. I'm like, were you 14?
Nah, since like 2014. Yeah,
shout out to you, bro. Since the beginning. Shout out to you.
Probably like the beginning for y'all?
Nah, 2016, but still.
Was that the beginning for y'all?
2016 is when we started.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So,
So definitely during
so
like
since
that Cavs
2016,
run.
yeah. Well, basically, we started the show that November after the Cavs beat the Warriors because I was so mad at them for at the Cavs for winning, the Warriors for losing, and Pavi was so happy, and we
Real
argued about it
quick.
the whole summer. He was like, "Man, we need to record this. Let's make a podcast." I'm like, "What you want to call it?" Like, man, I just want to drink beer and talk about basketball. We call it Hoops and Brews, and literally, that's the rest is history.
Bro, that's literally like every conversation with your dudes and you having them sports conversations going hard and y'all really decided to make something happen. So that shit is awesome, bro.
For sure,
But
for
yeah,
sure. Appreciate it. What you want to talk about?
man, I kind of feel like, so like I said, I'm from Ohio, Midwest shit. I feel like you know, LeBron getting the scoring title is a big deal, and obviously it's like it's a big statement, you know what I'm saying? But as somebody that's followed his career, I really feel like that 40, 10, and 10 is so aggressive upon the stat books, you feel what I'm saying? That is really like that's a whale, you feel what I'm saying? Like that's a whale stat to have.
Yep.
Bron has a triple double with the 40K. Like that's never been done. Is there somebody with 30, 10, and 10?
No. Hold on, wait a minute. I actually have the graphic I was just had on the show. Here we go. Look, this is this is the graphic. So LeBron is the only player to ever do all of this, to ever score 27,000 points, 7,000 assists, 7,000 rebounds, 30,000 points, 10,000 assists, 10,000 rebounds. Like, now I will say this.
Yeah.
Because he caught AIDS and he only wound up playing, which was really like 11. He really like a real actual Magic Johnson was for like 10 years. Magic numbers is damn near like, hold on, let me see if I can find them and pull them up just so that way we can be looking at the same thing. If you look, oh hell no, I ain't trying to look at his coaching record. I'm sorry. Because you know how like on Basketball Reference, if somebody coach or whatever, they have all different records. But if you look at Magic Johnson's numbers, Magic Johnson for his career in that many seasons, where the hell is the totals? Oh, totals. Magic has 17,000 points, 10,000 assists, and 6,559 rebounds. So if Magic would have played when did Bird retire? Like I'm sorry. Technically, Magic was drafted in '79. So if Magic, which even when he caught AIDS, he was still in peak physical form. He had just went to the fucking finals.
Right.
So let's say Magic plays another 8 years. Magic probably would have 25,000 points, 15,000 assists, and like 9,000 rebounds. He would probably, but do you understand what I'm saying? Like that's how insane the numbers that LeBron has been putting up actually is. So like, I've been a very staunch non-LeBron James supporter for my entire Hoops and Brews career, but you know it kind of after a certain point you just kind of got to let go. But also, as I said to open up this show, LeBron will never be better than Michael Jordan to me, and that's okay.
That's okay.
But also, as I said, he's number 2. I don't think you can't argue that you cannot argue that there is a basketball player that has existed other than Michael Jordan that has been a better all-around basketball player than LeBron James. And no disrespect to Cap, but Cap couldn't do defensively what Michael Jordan could do defensively. Because Mike could go and he could guard 1 through 3, and he's an all-NBA first-team level defender while giving you 30 to 35 a night and 5 assists and 6 rebounds. And usually going to give you a half a block or near a block while giving you 2 to 3 steals a game. Like what Cap did was absolutely amazing. But if we want to talk about the greats athletically, Cap and him don't compare. To me personally, I know he didn't win as many rings as Jordan or LeBron, but I even have, if we talking about greatest basketball players of all time, I have Wilt Chamberlain. Like it's a video that I'm gonna play and I'm gonna go through a little bit later on the show that I'm gonna react to live, but it's called How the NBA Made Scoring Easier. And it talked about basically how like during the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s, to start out, you can only dribble on top of the ball. Then they allowed you to dribble on the side of the ball. Now you can literally cup your hand all the way underneath the ball. Before, in literally in the 70s and 80s, if the offensive player initiated the contact with the defender, it was called offensive foul every time. Before they fully implemented the gather step, you literally only could take 2 steps and it was a travel. Before, if you fumbled the ball, like, you know how people would be like dribbling and the ball might get loose and they fumble it away, that would be called a travel. So like, it's so much stuff that I'm for real. It's like, even you know how big men back each other.
I'm glad they took that shit out.
Yeah. Like, you know how the big men back each other down?
Yeah.
Kareem wasn't even, like, they were not able to do that at all back then. Like, if because of the defensive rules, you could set up things a certain ways back then. But physical contact was like, people talk about, and even the video talks about it. People talk about physical contact in the NBA being a big thing. Physical contact and physicality wasn't really a thing until the 80s and the 90s, when they relaxed all the physical contact rules that they had, because they started getting so much TV viewership. They were just kind of letting whatever happened go because they wanted kind of the flow of the game. But if you look, and he literally broke down for 30 minutes all of the different rule changes that they made in basketball to make it easier. And it's definitely, now I will say this, Wilt Chamberlain's points were way harder to score than LeBron James' points.
All right.
No. Listen. I'm gonna tell you why.
Yeah. And then
I'm gonna tell you why.
Yep.
Because I bet you didn't know that Wilt Chamberlain used to dunk all his free throws.
I recently heard that.
And they changed the rule because he was the only person that could literally jump from the free throw line and dunk.
That's insane. Was this a running start?
Yes, but back then it didn't matter. You just had to shoot the ball. Back then you could jump on your free throws, and you could take a couple step gather and shoot from the free throw line. But they literally changed the rule so he could not dunk from the free throw line anymore. Like, back then, he couldn't back anyone down. If he made contact, like really in his prime, if he made contact with a defender, now Harden and Kawhi and even LeBron lean into people and get these fouls, they couldn't do any of that back then. So if you get in buckets, you literally just gotta get buckets with none of the physicality if people want to talk about the game of basketball being physical and players not being able to play, if you want to talk about the 80s and the 90s, cool. But before the 80s and the 90s, the game was not that physical because it was refereed refereed very, very ticky-tacky. So like his buckets was way harder. And they didn't have 3 seconds in the key back then. They didn't even have a lane when he started.
Yeah, that I've seen them old courts.
I'm not disrespecting what LeBron has done. I'm just saying that LeBron will never be my GOAT, but guys like Kareem, Wilt, Mike, and even Magic and Bird as well have the ability to forever be in that conversation. So no matter what LeBron does from this day forth, he's always going to still be where he is to me in that conversation. You can go ahead.
Yeah, no, that's a fact. I mean, all of the greats, their stones have already been made, you know what I'm saying, already been casted and written, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's the blessing of being able to see it. But the problem is, though, I get what you're saying. In comparison, as time goes on, people are gonna compare them differently because the rules have changed. Yes. That's I think that's pretty much existed all through basketball, right? And I feel like the reason why I wouldn't give it to, let's say, Wilt for having harder comp, or the baskets he was scoring was tougher, was, I mean, the guys that he was going against, I'm gonna have to pull that card. I'm gonna have to say that they were not on the athletic level of Wilt fucking Chamberlain, Mr. Olympic level athlete. I don't believe it. So I just don't think that they had the ankles, the mobility.
But my question is,
the jump.
My only argument to that is, who's on the level athletically of LeBron? Nobody ever.
Okay, that's fair. Hey, but
ever no one has ever had the physical endurance, the health, and the athleticism that LeBron, have you ever seen LeBron in person?
Never seen him in person.
Okay. Actually,
massive human being, I'm sure.
Massive human being. He's not.
Yeah.
What do they got him listed at? Like what's he listed as? 6 what?
6'9", 6'8", somewhere in there.
LeBron is like real solid ass 6'10", close to 6'11", no cap.
Man.
Hold on, wait a minute. Hold on. I'm finna play this for the fans. Hold on, wait a minute.
Yep.
For all you LeBron fans. I was at the presser the other day. Bron walked by me. I was recording on my phone. He looked at my phone. Bron being nosy. Nosy Bron.
Nosy Bron is crazy.
No, for real. Man, look clean in my phone. Look, clean in my phone.
Right. Don't know what I could be having on here, Bron.
Exactly.
Nah, but what I will say though is, the level of basketball that's being played in today's NBA, right? And people will say it's like lack of defense, but this last game that we just watched, right? You watched that whole thing, right? Nuggets Lakers.
No, I honestly I watched up until LeBron scored the 40,000 points, and then I went to go have dinner with my family.
Okay, that's right. So,
but I did watch the highlights, and I saw Jokic was out there cooking them, and actually I talked about it a little bit early in the show. I was playing some of the highlights and talking about just the level, like the level of physicality he brings, right. But also the finesse is just insanity. Go ahead.
It is. Yes, it is insane. Like you said, it's a bronze passing ability in a 7-footer. It's disgusting. And I would say even he be doing some passes where I'm like, well, nah, Bron could probably still make it, but you know what I'm saying. The thing that I would say, though, is the level of basketball that's being played, let's say by the 15th man, by the 12th man, all the way through the 6th man, is at a level that is unmatched in NBA's past. And I feel like this era should get credit for that and not be taken away. Like, the people who are the backups are dogs compared to the backups of the past. People who
I don't know. I just can't agree with that, bro. I just don't agree with that. I just don't agree with that. I don't agree.
Bro. They just had to rebound. They could maybe defend here and there.
I don't like that, bro. I don't like that because you wanna know why I don't like that? Because what that does is that solely and inherently takes away not only the history of the game, but it take away the history of just wait a minute. It takes away the history and how good some of these guys were just to get to the NBA. Like, we got to be real about this. Back then, it was 12 teams. It's 10 people on a roster. It's only 120 people in the league. So you telling me that the 120 best basketball players in the world weren't good when you got all of these guys that was Mr. Basketball, winning state championships in high school, championships in college? You're one of 120. Today it's like 456 of these guys, something like that. Back then you were one of 120. That means you was the 120 best hoopers in the world, bro.
Yeah,
I think we do a disservice to those guys back then by talking about them as though like they were some third world ballers. Like, you can't tell me Dr. J wouldn't be Dr. J today.
Dr. J would still be Dr. J.
You can't tell me the guy that could dunk. No. But listen to what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Even for the guys as great as Dr. J to make the guys that look not that good back then look not that good, them dudes was still the best of 120 people.
For sure.
Of the best of the best. So yeah, we might have looked at it like, oh, they didn't know what they was doing, but also at the same time, look at the rules. And actually, now that we're talking about this, I want to play it. You got a minute? I want to play a little bit of this video that talks about how they made scoring easier in the NBA.
All right, play it.
You got a minute? I'm going to play it. Hold on 1 second. Let me put it up. Hold on. Is it playing? Oh, hold on.
Out on drives like this. And in the 90s, they let plenty go as well.
Here we go.
Jumped. There was simply little tolerance for the offense jumping into defenders and initiating contact. This might not look like a defensive foul, but that's because there was less physicality in general during that era. Defenders would arm bar and hand check, but the slightest nudge or bump could be called a foul. The 60s has this reputation for being tough and rugged, but there wasn't much contact allowed in space and with the ball. By the 80s, hand fighting and physical contact was more commonly allowed on drives like this, and in the 90s, they let plenty go as well. That's a solid push to the shoulder that goes uncalled there. Physicality probably peaked in the early 2000s, where there was a ton of contact away from the ball at times, and some of these contests felt like rugby matches instead of a basketball.
Hold on, I'm going to skip ahead.
Gundy during the 2008 playoffs.
When the offense is allowed more contact than the defense, it's wrong. It's like if you're in a legal guarding position, if the offense brings it into you, it's no call or an offensive foul.
In recent years, fouls are now regularly called on the defense after the offense initiates that contact. This happens a lot on drives, dropping
so
a
everybody's
shoulder
scoring
into the
more
defender to create contact, and often earn the offense free throws. Sometimes this comes in the form of veering back into the defender, running alongside the ball handler, although the league made it a point of emphasis to call these offensive fouls in 2022. But there were no shortage of defensive fouls this year.
Go ahead.
So I would want to know, based off of this, well, basically,
you should watch it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it's a good one.
It's a great watch. I watched all 30 minutes of it. I was actually like, I did, because it was old rules where if your team was in a bonus, you had to shoot 3 free throws in order to make 2. It also was another rule where if you missed a free throw and your teammate got the rebound and scored, it counted as 1 point, but it counted as your point and not their point.
Yeah, no. It's
rules.
I wonder, because we're talking about fouls happening, I wonder how it compares those times as far as fouls called, free throws attempted. I wonder how that would compare. Because
I actually think he talked about that. Hold on, let me see if I can find the part. I'm trying to skim through it.
Because it would make me think that.
I think it might be right here.
Now, then.
Let me see. I think it might be right here. Let me see.
At some point in the 2000s, as more physicality was allowed, offensive players could do more with their off arm without having it called. Watch Steve Nash's right arm keep the defender at bay here, and instead of a foul, it's a layup. By 2022, the scales had tipped enough for this play.
Oh, here we go. No, it's right here. Here we go.
Him 2 free throws.
Okay, here we go. Let's watch this. Let's watch this full minute real quick.
And at this point,
and then he's gonna talk about the free throw
really
thing.
Anywhere, this play was a defensive foul. Trae Young feels the defender getting close, so he just rips and flails to draw a call. This was actually turned into a non-call on review. And in a Hall of Fame level sequence, Joel Embiid tries the rip through multiple times and ends up throwing the ball off the defender. All this ripping through has spawned the off-arm hook, where the offensive player hooks the defender's arm instead of gathering the ball in a natural motion. And again, this was being called a defensive foul until 2022, although this year we still saw some of the most incredible fouls in league history. Harden trips and rips into the defender while falling over.
Bro, Harden all
ladies
over
and
this
gentlemen,
video.
that earned him 2 free throws. To say we've come a long way from the days where this was called an offensive foul feels like an understatement. Players are now playing with their hands literally clasped behind their back to take away the target of the rip through. If we look at shooting fouls per 100 2-point shot attempts, we see a big jump in 2005 when the league relaxed contact on the perimeter, and then a fairly steady ratio until the 2020 season when shooting fouls spiked in the bubble and have remained incredibly high. Meanwhile, the dribbling and traveling changes have helped suppress turnovers. Yes, strategy and skill development play a role in this entire story, but the rules also make it easier to maintain possession now compared to the 80s or the 60s.
So there you go. He talked about it right there. So I mean, as you can see, like I'm not knocking LeBron's points. I'm not saying it all, because honestly, even watching that video, I was like, damn, Kareem probably got an extra 100 points off of like someone else scoring off of a missed free throw. You know what I mean?
Right.
And him getting the point for that. So I'm not complaining about LeBron's points, but I do think that with the league making it this easy to score, like, to me, points don't necessarily mean you're the GOAT. But I will say this, like, I think it's LeBron's last run, and if he can pull off one more ring, then we can have that conversation. But also, I don't think he's the best player on the Lakers anymore, so it's hard for me to really, like, in my mind, really act as though LeBron is to me, LeBron is the driving force of the Lakers because he's LeBron, not because he's the best player on the team.
Are you having technical difficulties? Or
I hear you. I think it might be your connection. Yeah, if you want to, you can pop out and pop back in if you want to, because sometimes it'd be like that with the cell phones. So yeah, just pop back in, pop back out. But has the NBA made it too easy to score? I don't really know. I think 200 points in an All-Star game is ridiculous. But I think they had to do something. Just to keep the level of interest. Like, even if this rules video that I'm talking about, which is called, the name of the video is How the NBA Continues to Make Scoring Easier, is by Thinking Basketball. It's just a really interesting take, and you just really get to see how the game has really, really changed. But I think that the 2000s, they went a little too far with the physicality. Like, it was a game with the Pacers where it was 33 seconds left in the game, and the score of the game was 65 to 69. That's like a first half in today's basketball. Now, again, too far, it's hard for me to really say. But I think that, the league is going to do what the league is doing. I don't know. I think it was Gilbert Arenas who said, he's like, the NBA is not basketball, it's entertainment. And I agree with that. It's not basketball. I mean, well, it is basketball, but it's not the purest form of basketball. To me, the purest form of basketball is the way that they play it in FIBA. But that's also why the games are slower, the pace of it is slower, and it moves slower. Cam Buford, call in. Call in, Cam. I'm gonna text you the link. Talk to me if you want to. Cam says, focusing on scoring certainly impacted the game we see. Yes, I agree. It impacted the game we see greatly. And it impacted the game the way we see greatly because of the fact that it takes away from all of the nuances and the things that make the NBA special. And to me, like, if it's just about points and it's not about the hustle and it's not about the grit and the grind and really trying to focus on getting the basketball in the hoop, and stopping and playing good team, I don't really know what we're looking at as a product. I think it'll get a little too cartoonish, and that's really my biggest fear. And honestly, I'm going to say this, and I have a hot take, and I'm ahead of the curve with all of this stuff, but I actually have a real hot take. And I know that NBA Twitter is going to get upset at me. And some people in women's basketball are going to be like, oh, he's this or he's that or he doesn't. I don't want to hear any of that. I got friends that are WNBA players. I root for the WNBA. I want the WNBA to be successful. I watch the WNBA. I know what's going on in the league. But I have a hot take. And my hot take is that women's basketball will catch men's basketball in popularity by 2030. Let's pray we're all around, especially with all of the craziness that's going on in the world. But I think when you look at what Caitlin Clark is doing, she's definitely going to Indiana. The Fever's ticket prices have doubled since basically she announced she was joining the draft. I believe Angel Reese will declare for the draft. I believe Cameron Brink will declare for the draft. It sucks Paige Beckers didn't declare for the draft. I think that she made a very large mistake not declaring for the draft this year. She might be the number 1 or number 2 pick next year, but I just pray for her health and just her game. Like, I think a lot of these college players, like, the money you make on NIL is great, but you're taking a big risk not going to the W and doing what you need to do at the W. And I think that, as much as I hear people complain about women's basketball not necessarily having the following that people want, I think that for the players like Paige Beckers and those players where I've been to the games, to the Sparks games and stuff. Those fans are clamoring for stars, and Paige is a star. And I think that I get it. You like college. I get it. You might not have had the year you wanted to have with your team, so you don't want to go out like that. But go get the money. Go explore the marketplace. Go help leverage your superstar to make the W bigger. And I think that the WNBA has the potential to catch up with the NBA. Now, I don't think it'll be bigger than the NBA because obviously the NBA has these multi-billion-dollar TV contracts. But I do think that in terms of just general popularity, there might come a day where we are talking about the WNBA season and what's going on with the WNBA players and how the WNBA should expand their season and expand their teams and expand the rosters because the league is just lighting it up. And I think Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, Cameron Brink, they're the first dominoes of this first wave of the new, and honestly, it's the first wave ever to me of the WNBA superstar. Like, to me, the WNBA usually has one or two players that are like star quality players at a time. Even now, really, it's like Sabrina, Asia, Brianna, and Diana, obviously, because she's still playing. But other than that, like, the W doesn't have a ton of stars that are just jumping off the page, that are doubling ticket prices. And I think Angel Reese is a star. I saw a photo of a little, of a little white girl. She was a toddler. She had one of her pants legs rolled up, and she said she did that because Angel Reese did it. And the mom posted the photo. And I think that's the true power of what women's sports and women's basketball is and can be. And I think that the level of competition to me is actually, women's basketball is much more competitive than the NBA is. But the NBA is a much more exciting game to watch because of the athleticism of the males and the way that they can fly through the air and do things in the air. Because even as, you saw with Sabrina shooting against Steph, the women can shoot just as good as the men. I think their dribbling and the ball handling is actually better than the men's in the NBA. I think the men in the NBA have more dribbling moves, but I think the women in the average WNBA player is a better ball handler than the average NBA player. And I think that the average WNBA player is a better finisher under the rim with finesse than the average NBA player. So I just think you need some stars. And I think that the WNBA has a huge chance to really step up and become a really impactful league because the level of competition is high. But we have another guest coming into the 2-for-1 show, my main man, Mr. Cameron Buford. What's up, my guy? How you doing today, brother?
What's good?
Mr. Voice of the Fans. Talk to the people, let them know who you are, where you're from, what you represent.
voiceofthefans.org. You can follow me every week. We do our podcast, Voice of the Fans, every week. Me and Cleavon. You can find our content in one place now. In one place, TPJ. Voiceofthefans.org. Voiceofthefans.org. We give you articles, articles on community involvement, up to date sports articles. Our podcast, you can links to our podcast is there with the host of videos that we've done over the past years, man. So you can check us out, voiceofthefans.org, voiceofthefans.org, press for us site where you can find all of our content.
Yep, and special shout out to Cleavon, Mr. Cleavon Steele. He sent me a copy of his book to read and check out. I just got it today. I started reading it. It is great so far. I look forward to finishing this, and I thank him for this special autograph copy. He left a special note. He said, HNB Media crew, thanks so much for taking the time to read my book and all of your help with Voice of the Fans podcast. Hope you enjoy. Cleavon. Thank you, Mr. Cleavon Steele. Appreciate
autograph
it.
Copy. Links to the books are also on the website as well.
Yes, please go get that and enjoy it. So, Cam, what you want to talk about tonight? I'm surprised you up.
Yeah, man, I was turning in and saw my guys went live. I don't get the updates no more, so I had to just chime on like a regular dude, and just want to tune in.
Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah, when I do this show, I usually just do it and let the fans call in and talk to me if they want to, rather than it being just like us. Because really, this is like my one-man band show where I just want to talk and get my shit off. So I just usually let the fans call in, and if I see one of you guys texting me or whatever, I'll send you guys a link. But what's up? What you want to talk about? I've been talking about LeBron. Has the NBA made it too easy to score? And do you think we'll ever see a player that will? We have some LeBron James stats. I'm going to show you this stat, which I'm sure you might have seen it. But do you think that there will ever be a player that will be able to get anywhere near this conversation?
TPJ, it's going to take Kevin Durant is the closest, right? And Kevin Durant is like 5 years behind him on the pace that he's playing right now. That's bananas. That is absolutely bananas. For a player to pass him, it's going to take them to average, 27 points for 20 straight years?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the only person that can do it is Luka.
Luka is not in the shape that LeBron James is in. So for him to get past year 15, 14, 15, 16, 17, I mean, if he's not in shape.
Well, I will say this though. I will say this about Luka. Even though he's not in shape, he's only played 6 years and he already has basically 11,000 points, and he has 3,000 assists and 3,000 rebounds.
Listen
in
to
6 years.
Listen to what I'm saying. If he's not in the best shape at 25 years old, we can't expect him to be in better shape at 35 years old. So his production, although it's great here, and you triple that, is he going to be able to quadruple that in the last, just say, again, year 15, 16, 17, and 18? I mean, what dude is doing is absolutely amazing. Although I'm not per se a LeBron fan, but his longevity and his ability to perform at a high level is absolutely outstanding. I mean, you can't hate on what he's accomplishing, even though it is a longevity stat. These are longevity numbers. He's just adding on to the cake.
Yeah, 100%.
You really have to compliment the endurance, the fortitude that he's still performing like this tonight, even though they lost. I mean, he's not impacting winning. We see that in the last 2 years. He's not impacting winning as he has in years past. But he's still what he have tonight, 25 and 12,
yeah,
if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Like that's still production. If AD steps up and does his thing, if they quit tinkering around with the roster and actually had quality people around him, and that's the one knock about him, is he didn't never allow people to go with him. Austin Reeves has been the player that's been with them that you would like to see. Austin Reeves, or no, we'll say that Kyrie Irving in his 5th or 6th year with him, and how his game develops, and then how that partnership matures. You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because that make them better longer. But because he went from Cleveland to Miami to Los Angeles, and then kept tinkering with the rosters, you never saw a player stick with him long enough for their game to develop and enhance as he grew and enhanced. We haven't seen that, and that's. I mean, I guess that could be one knock on him, but what he's doing as an individual talent is remarkable. It's absolutely the consistency and the level that he's playing is absolutely. But to your point and why I chimed in, has the NBA made scoring too easy? Absolutely, but it harkens back to where those 98 Knicks, those 99 Pacers, where they were playing, as you mentioned, the games were 89 to 86 in the fourth. That was a ball game. We're not far from that at halftime in some of these games. So with that being said, they went too far. They leaned too far to correct that, because there should be some defense allowed in the game. And then as the game changed, they took away that power forward, like the enforcer type dude, the Mason, the Oakley, the Ron Artest is the closest that we've seen to that. really guy who would foul you when you're going to the hoop, because now they call it this kind of. I think it's more not so they're starting the fights, but I think it's more so they're passing out technical fouls and injecting guys for those hard fouls. That has certainly impacted the game. Benefit, and then they wanted AI. I mean,
Yeah.
They wanted AI to be not. I won't say trying to make an offensive league, but they wanted to see people want to see AI score. They wanted to see then Kobe Bryant score coming off of MJ. They wanted to continue somebody flying through the air like MJ was, but nobody could be MJ, obviously. But that leaning the game to the high flying, the high scoring has really kind of impacted the game in the sense that where those fouls aren't being called. There's no threat to go to the hoop, man. And then the influx of the 3-point really kind of changed.
Yeah, I agree. I think they went a little bit too far, like just a little bit too far. And I've been seeing people in the NBA said that they are going to look to tweak some of the rules to make it because they feel as though they went a little bit too far. I don't.
That's going to be hard to do.
I think the way they tweak it is that they're going to make it like 5 seconds in the key. But to me, that's not the problem. Like I think the freedom of movement that they implemented about 6, 7, 8 years ago, those rules that they implemented where you could no longer grab the shooters and stuff like that coming off of screens and stuff. To me, that has made the game a lot more open, I think, than anything, because guys just shoot threes now all the time. They take open threes. You see guys really not even wanting to defend or go around a screen these days, because if you grab or you touch at all, it's a foul. So I think, but that's just my personal opinion. Go ahead.
Let me, not to cut you off, let me ask you this. I heard somebody mention this, which was pretty intriguing. I think in the All-Star game, this came up after the whole All-Star game fiasco. But I think it was like a 98 or 90, 97 or 98. I forget the year. It was somewhere around there. It was before 2000. There were three three-pointer shot in a NBA All-Star game.
Mm-hmm.
To where
we had 100.
To where we had now, just last year or a couple of weeks ago, how many three-pointers were shot? Something like 60 or 70.
Yeah, more than that.
But the three-pointer, if they did, can they do away with the three-pointer?
No.
And how do you think that would, you said have 5 seconds in the key. If they did away with the three-pointer, now you guys don't have to worry about, they can just, that 2-point shot could be a 15-footer or a 27-footer. It doesn't matter. If they did away with the three-pointer, would that put more emphasis on low post scoring or scoring around the paint?
It would, but I don't think that they would do it just because then you eradicate Steph Curry and the magic that he's created for you. Like, he's created an entire generation of athletes that are coming in that are looking for that shot. To me, like, I've seen some people shrink the 3-point line where there's no longer the corners, where the 3-point line is basically
that would be just as weird. I mean, that would be just an adjustment, right? So what, you gonna move just the 3-point line just 24 feet?
I mean, like, literally, it was like this, like where my arms are connected, where like it basically just goes to the out of bounds lines, and it's just behind that. I mean, that's definitely interesting, because that eliminates a lot of guys' position, like a PJ Tucker, those kind of guys, 3-point corner specialists and stuff like that.
It would,
and it would force everyone to be in the middle of the floor, because usually, especially where they run an offense, they always trying to run it, heavy on one side, and then the weak side is usually just somebody in the corner. Now that person in the corner, maybe they might want to be at the 20-foot mark or the 15-foot mark instead of the 3-point line.
If they made that adjustment, I say just go ahead and get rid of it all. Just go ahead. If they made that adjustment to just put it at the top of the key, I just say get rid of it all, because again, now you're putting just as much emphasis on low post scoring. That brings back that low post, that power forward or the center who actually has a post game, because obviously the NBA is size matters. Mm-hmm. So if Wemby develops this drop step over up and under, like he becomes even more dangerous. But it's because of what you mentioned. Historically, what we've seen Steph Curry do is crazy. Reggie Miller that eliminated the 3-point shot. I just don't see that.
Yeah,
but
I don't
I
see that
found that an interesting thought. And how else could you improve or get back to the game being a not necessarily just a completely low post game? How can you bring back the importance of that low post game? Because right now it's all about 3-point shooting, and that they had kind of overarchingly try to correct the defensive struggles that we've seen in the late 90s to now let the game be more open with the Allen Iversons, Kobe Bryant, and what we see LeBron just played right into that. Okay, you're not going to call points when I'm going to the hole. And, LeBron been going to we saw it tonight. Him drive, take the ball from the rebound, grab the rebound, and because nobody actually, to his credit, nobody actually gonna get in front of the 6'9", 260-pound dude.
6'10",
280, and draw the foul.
Yeah, he definitely knows 6'9". He big as hell.
He just gonna go right to the hoop and lay it in left or right, and it's wild. Because we don't have those big guys who's gonna take the Oakley's who's gonna take that foul. Who said, okay, enough's enough today. You might do that. You might do that next week, but enough's enough. And that could be a guy like Gordon, although Gordon doesn't need to resort to that because he's playing with Jokic. But that could be like a guy like Gordon who would take that hard foul to say enough is enough. But that's kind of a bad example because of the team he plays on. But I think you get that point.
Yeah, no, I definitely get the point. It makes sense. But actually, one thing I want to talk to you about real quick, speaking of this, is Gilbert talked about
took away aggression. Mm-hmm. They took away aggression to open up the Euro League. When they first started getting here, it was too rough for them. Mm-hmm.
And they didn't make it.
They didn't make it, right? So eventually, they softened the rules. They didn't soften the rules for the Americans. They softened the rules to open it up international. Yeah. So when they're saying the Euros is going to run the league in the next 5 years, why do you think that? More threes, passing, cutting. This is not our league. This is not the American style. This is the Euro style. So, drive in, suck the defense in, pass the ball to the three-point line. It's a three-point shooting league because they're copying Euro style. Suns, right?
Uh-huh. Okay, what you think about that? You think
there's a lot of truth. There's a lot of truth to that because they want to make the game international. Yeah, they want to make it more an international game and appeal to not just Americans. So yes, they made some tweaks to the game. Yes, that's absolutely. Yes, there's a lot of truth to what he's saying. However, that brand, again, going back to what I was talking about, in that, the game kind of changed. Steph Curry impacted the game from what we see when he came in shooting the threes, right, and all of the blocks, if you will. But the transition, they want to see a more free-flowing game. And so, yes, instead of Allen Iverson going one-on-one, instead of Kobe Bryant going one-on-4 and he's historically known as the worst shot taker and the worst shot maker in the history of the NBA, right? Instead of that, they wanted to add a game that had teamwork, team players playing the game. So, yes, you have to do more cutting. Yes, you have to do more passing. They want to see a more fluid game. And so they figure with American athletes playing that brand of basketball, it would be more of a prettier game. So, yes, that's part of the overcompensating from the defensive issues that we saw in the late 90s. Yes, they wanted to expand the game. Not only did they want to expand the game, but they wanted to make it a more fluid, a team player type game. So, yes, there was a lot of overcompensating. So, yes, Gilbert Arenas is not totally wrong in what he's saying. However, America should be compensating.
Yeah, I don't.
Where they want to kind of gear the game, it's still an American basketball game, right? It's still the NBA. They still have the best athletes, the best basketball players around, who should be able to adapt their game to what he's talking about. If we know this, Gilbert, you specifically, you should have been able to adapt to that, right? Because that
Mhm.
makes the game not so much a one-on-one game. It makes it a team game, Gilbert. If you pass the ball a couple more times, Gilbert, if you become a better team player, Mr. Gilbert, and you stop, carrying guns in the locker room and on the team playing, maybe you're still playing today, Mr. Gilbert. So he says it out of spite. But there is truth to what he's saying. But we Americans, Gilbert, need to adjust our game a little bit better. Gilbert.
I will say this: he would not still be playing today. He would be 43, but he definitely would have played a lot longer.
His career would have been extended. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I definitely, and I'll say this in response to Gilbert, like, you can say yes that the Euro League guys are the reason why the league got soft. I don't really believe that. I think that the physicality had just gone way, way, way too far. It had just gone way too far. Like with the hand fighting, with the fighting underneath the basket, the physical fights, the fights in the stands. Guys were basically cold cocking and knocking each other out the air. It's a video that I played earlier.
What year was Malice in the Palace? What year was that?
2007.
Yeah, and that was
2004. Sorry,
2004.
Yeah,
that was absolutely when that happened. The NBA said no more. Enough of this. Is not. We don't need the physical game anymore. We're legislating that physicality out of the game. And so,
rightfully so.
We seen it, and we see that transition, and we see when Steph Curry came in the league, 2007, he came in the league, I think.
Yeah,
2006, 2007, and then he was out a couple years.
No, 09.
09. Steph came in 09.
I believe it's 09.
So he didn't play the first couple years, or he was
2009, 7th pick, 2009.
Wow. So, so it wasn't until 2013 when he really had his impact, because it took him a couple years to kind of get his feet under him, right? It was about 2013 when he had his impact. The game started really moving to shooting a lot. So I say that Malice to the Palace really significantly. They already started transitioning because they wanted to see Allen Iverson and Kobe Bryant kind of explode and go to the hole with the free flowing. And then it became they want too much one-on-one, too much one man dominating the floor. And then they wanted to see the game transition to a Euro International League where they were requiring more team involvement, more passing, more shooting, right? Make it more of a fluid game. So that kind of transition, and then we see Steph Curry. I mean, and everybody started. Once Steph Curry took off, it became a 3-point game. Chicks did the long ball, right?
Yep, and actually I got a clip that I want to play, and it's from this video that I was watching earlier with one of the fans who was on the show. And it actually talks about the physical defense.
Discuss that in another video. And there was a brutality to the era that has been washed out of today's game. No suspensions were handed out here. Back in the 80s, hard and dirty in-game fouls weren't always called flagrant. This one was a common foul, and this famous incident in the 1987 Eastern Finals wasn't even a foul, just nothing, although Robert Parrish was suspended for a game. By the early 90s, the league had cracked down on fighting and overtly dangerous fouls. This one was an ejection, and in the very next game, this was called a flagrant. But there was a ton of physicality from possession to possession, especially down in the post. This kind of wrestling for position and hand fighting wasn't really part of the game before the three-point line. Watch Kareem move through the lane here. That little bump was called a defensive foul. That's all it took. And there just simply wasn't a ton of jostling or powerful seals in the 60s and 70s off the ball. It was common to see post-ups from players where defenders gave them space instead of leaning on them or driving them off their spots. In the mid-70s, there might be a forearm to the back to keep an offensive player stationary, but they weren't leaning all their weight into each other in a battle for paint position like we'd seen in later decades.
So, the reason why I showed that is because that basically shows that Gilbert's argument doesn't make sense. It has nothing to do with the European players. Like they actually took it back to what was more so the original rules that they used to call in basketball. They let it go and let it get really loose between the 80s and the 2000 and the year 2000. And then they reined it back into what it was. But if you look at this video, it clearly shows and breaks down that the game in the 50s, 60s, and 70s was not a supremely physical game because they called fouls on every little thing. So this argument that like, oh, the European guys came in and they made the game softer, and no, they didn't. They just started calling the game the way that they used to call it because they let it go way too far. And you can even see like that Robert Parrish foul. Like, how did he not get kicked out the game? Like he got suspended, but he didn't even get. It wasn't even a flagrant foul.
There was literally 3 punches he threw.
Kurt Rambis, when Kurt Rambis he didn't get ejected for that. That was just like a regular foul. Yeah. So I think I just think that's a lazy and an uninformed argument from Gilbert. And I get it that like guys that played in that era have like a certain nostalgia for that era because like that was the good old days back when the boys used to get real rough and we we used to be on the gridiron, like that kind of thing. But at the end of the day, the league was not always like that. It let it get to that point because the popularity was rising. So obviously you don't want to watch a basketball game as Larry Bird and Magic Johnson are being on TV for the first time with a bunch of ticky-tack foul calls.
It got to that point because those in the 90s, that's how that's how Detroit beat Chicago.
Yeah,
like that's the way we gotta be. That's the way we gotta play to beat Jordan. Then you saw the Knicks toughen up, and then on their second three-peat, the Knicks went to that brand of basketball to beat Jordan, and so the league was like, "Look, Jordan is a guy. As much as you guys want to beat him up, we want to see Jordan put points on the board. We want to see AI who came in. We want to see AI put points on the board. We want to see Kobe." Who's a young dude at the time. We want to see Kobe put points on the board. So that's kind of shifted the game. And then we got to the 2004 Malice in the Palace. Yeah. Which, here's a stop to it. We're shutting that down right now. But there is some where I do agree with Gilbert, partially agree with Gilbert, is the point that they did want to expand, make it a more international game. They did want to bring in and make it more appealing to everybody, and not everybody was AI, Kobe, or MJ who could get to the hoop like he could. But if they restricted the rules and allowed more free flowing players to be able to get to the rim, like some of those players, like those guys were able to, then that invites more players into the game. So that's where I think not only did they want to appeal to a broader audience, not just in America, but they want to give some other guys an opportunity to have successful careers, successful games. So there was an adjustment made. So that's why I do agree. I do agree with Gilbert, only because they wanted to expand. They were looking to expand the game, and then coming off, obviously capitalizing off of what the Dream Team did 10 years earlier. They start wanting to do that in the early 2000s. That Malice in the Palace cemented all that tough guy crap that we saw. However, they were overcompensated because we still needed that. I think the game still could have used some of that toughness down low.
Yeah, I agree.
To your point in that video, though, when there was no 3-point line, and as I was saying, if they delimited 3-point line, would that bring back the low post game?
It would, but if you eliminate the 3-point line, the game is not as attractive as it was before. Because even I think now the level of difficulty with the shots are just as exciting to watch as a good dunk.
The level of difficulty,
and maybe not for us, but for the average NBA fan now, I think it is. I think people still like to see dunks, but like Steph Curry shooting the ball from 40 feet and turning around and looking away from the rim before it goes in is a pretty spectacular thing to see. Like, how the hell did he know that was going to go in? Like, very rarely does he turn around when he shoots the ball and it doesn't go in. It happens probably like 1 out of every 10 times. That within itself is worth watching for the average fan.
I think the most impressive thing with fans is if you ever get a chance to go to, you better do it quickly. If you ever get a chance to go see Golden State play, watch Steph Curry off the ball.
No, I've seen him play I haven't seen him in San Francisco.
I know you have. I'm just saying.
Oh yeah, period.
Fans in general. If you ever get a chance to go watch Steph Curry play, watch his work, the work he puts in before he shoots the ball, before he gets the ball, before he shoots the ball. It's incredible.
Mm-hmm.
The heart, and that's when I thought the Warriors, going back to last season after the punch, should have traded Jordan.
I agree.
However,
seeing what Jordan Poole looks like now, though, I'm glad they didn't trade him because Jordan Poole looks awful now. He's the second worst player in the league to me.
Well, he just, I mean, he's a bad shot taker on a bad team, so it makes it looks even worse.
He also just doesn't have the presence and of fundamentals
the
either.
Basketball IQ,
yeah, very low basketball IQ.
But I mentioned Draymond to say that the way Draymond knows that he'll be best if he works with Steph Curry, right? He understood that real early. I'll be best if I work with this guy.
Yeah,
and then them two early. Draymond helped Steph Curry with the screens and the being able to pass on point, the right timing, and put the ball in the right pocket for him. However, the work that Steph Curry puts in before he actually takes a shot, I think is to me most impressive, as impressive as him taking the threes and turning around and walking up court before it goes in. Because that, if you got players to do that, if you got players to put in that extra work before they take a shot, like that's another level that the game can go. That's another level of making those 3-pointers. But obviously everybody doesn't have the quick trigger like Steph Curry. Everybody doesn't have the fluidity of Steph Curry. But like Klay Thompson, who actually learned from Steph Curry and puts in that extra work. Now he has a quicker trigger than this Steph, but it's just it's not as money as Steph. But he actually puts in the work as well before he takes the 3-pointer. If more players did that brings back the fluidity of the game. That makes the game. I mean, that's a beautiful aspect of the game. So yes, eliminating the 3-pointer in totality ruins what Steph brings to the game. I told you. I feel you. I feel what you're saying on that. However, it was just a concept. I thought it was very. It really made me think about how the game would look. And then when you posted the clip where the guys were playing in the low post. That brings back the presence of the big man. I mean, because if your sound.
I think the age of the big man is here. I just think they just don't play in the post no more unless you Nikola Jokic or Joel Embiid.
Well, that's the advantage. That's the advantage that those guys have. That's certainly good.
Yeah.
Hey, before I go, man, tell me what you thought about Wemby, your guy Wemby and Chet, that matchup that they had the other night. Is this compare this on a not a rivalry statue. Obviously, neither one of these guys have done anything, but when you see you have one player, you have a LeBron and Kobe that we never actually saw in a championship forum.
Mm-hmm.
How did these players match up in your eyes as far as when these two on the court? That's must-see basketball.
Yeah, I think that every game that they play against each other should be on national TV. I think this is the new Shaq versus Tim Duncan battle that you get, or the new Shaq versus Hakeem battle that you get. I think that Wemby has made it very clear and abundant that he is light years ahead of Chet. But I think Chet, and I said this on one of my shows, I think Chet has the potential to be as good as Kevin Garnett. But I think Wemby has the potential to be a top 5 basketball player ever. Like there is literally nothing on the basketball floor he cannot do.
Where do you have KG if you say Chet can be better version of KG. Where do you have KG in the?
I didn't say a better version. Say he could be as good as KG.
Where do you have KG? Like in the?
I got KG and I got KG like I got him like in the 20 to 25 range. Sometimes I argue that he's at 15.
So top 15.
Because Kevin Garnett was actually my favorite player growing up. Like when I used to have Kobe Bryant's courtside in NBA Live, I would always play with the Timberwolves. I would play with Kevin Garnett, and I would move him from the center or the power forward to the three or the point guard, and I would run the team with him as the three or the point guard. And then I could have the ball in his hands. He could make shots from the mid range. He could dribble. He could pass it. He was a hellacious defender. Like Kevin Garnett was one of my favorite players ever growing up. He don't really crack my top 8 no more, but growing up, he was definitely, before I was 12 years old, he was probably my favorite player in the NBA.
You had Chet being arguably a top 20 player in the league when he all said and done.
I mean, I think the team that he's on, they have the chance to win 2 to 3 rings over the next 6 years if they can somehow pull it together. If he does that, I don't think they will either. But theoretically, if he does that, he's already off to a great start. Now, I don't think he'll be the defender that Kevin Garnett is. But I think that he could be. I think he could be 2 points higher on potency on offense than Kevin Garnett, but 3 points lower on potency on defense. But I think those 2 points of more potency on offense will add up to an extra 3 to 5 points a game that KG wasn't able to do. Like I think Chet realistically could average 28 to 30 a game one day in his career. I think Wemby could average 30 to 35 a game one day in his career. But I don't think KG was ever going to be the guy that was going to be able to give you 30 a night, period, in any generation. 30 a night, it's a lot.
What was they doing when they made the playoffs? Obviously, that was 1 year. But where was he at when they made the playoffs? And it was him and Casal. He had to be 27 a night.
Kevin Garnett never averaged over 24 points a game in his career.
I'm
sorry. He averaged 24.2 points per game that year.
That year, 24?
Yeah. But he gave you 13.9 rebounds a game, 2.2 blocks a game, 1.5 steals on 19.6 shots and only 2.6 turnovers a game, shooting basically 50% from the field and 25% from three. So I think Chet will be able to be a guy that can get you 28 on 50% shooting, 90% from the free throw line, and 35 to 38% from three, and still be able to give you 12 rebounds a night. He already gonna give you 2 to 3 blocks a night. He's doing it right now. The steals is where Kevin Garnett, as a man-to-man defender, is just a better defender. But I think offensively, Chet will be more potent than Kevin Garnett, and I think that if he can bring off a couple rings, he can be up there in that conversation. But it's gonna take a lot of work for him to do. Versus Wemby, I think Wemby is gonna win like 3 to 5 championships. I'm not even joking, because even if Pop isn't there, you know who I think gonna be the Spurs' next head coach?
Becky.
Manu Ginobili.
Interesting.
Like Ginobili basically is like an advisor to the team. He's at every single game. So it's Tim Duncan. Tim Duncan's an assistant coach. He's always with them on the practice floor. You see pictures of him behind the scenes. But Ginobili has little kids. His boys are like I don't know, like 6 to 10. So if Pop just signed a new deal a couple of years ago where he's going to coach at least for another 4 years, right? So think about it. If you're Manu, your boys are like, 8 to 10 years old, you become the coach of the Spurs when they're around like 10 to 12. You coach them. Now they're a little bit older, so you don't have to necessarily be there every single day like because he's been retired for a while. And you coach the Spurs. I would not be surprised if Manu Ginobili became the head coach of the Spurs one day. And I think Trae Young will eventually end up in San Antonio.
Please.
I pray to God every day he goes there. Trae Young is going to end up in San Antonio, and we're going to see something that we have never seen before.
With this Trae Young top.
Why? Him and Wemby?
Oh, my goodness gracious. Talking about somebody who doesn't impact winning I was about to ask you a question.
You're tripping. Trae Young and Wemby is that Trae Young and Wemby together. No, listen. You put Trae Young on this team right now. Put Trae Young on this team right now. They're a top 5 seed in the West.
He doesn't impact winning. He doesn't impact winning.
But you want to know why you say that? Because they
don't win it. He don't. He's a man in Atlanta. They've been there. He's been there 5-6 years, and they don't. What have they been? They went to one conference finals. That was a fluke, and they've been trash ever since.
No.
Why are you trying to give Trae Young some love?
I'm not. The reason why he is not a winner is because he is a number 2 playing number 1. He really needs to be with a real number 1 option, and he needs to be the number 2 option. I'm not looking at him going to San Antonio thinking he's going to be the best player on the team. I want you to be the second. I need him to be the second best player on the team. I need him to give me 25 a night on 45+% shooting. I need 35+% shooting from 3. I need 10 assists a night, at least 6 a night to Wemby, and that is good enough for me. I don't need no. But listen, no, stop.
Stop. Please look at the numbers the last 2 seasons.
They're all-star level numbers, and he didn't make the all-star. He's averaging fucking 20 to 25 and 11.
Look at his numbers.
He's averaging fucking 25 and 11. What are we talking about?
He was shooting 30. He's shooting 33% last year. He was shooting 33% last year.
As the number 1 option. Give him a number 1 option and let him be the number 2 option. You telling me that if Clint Capella could still be putting up 15 and 10 or 15 and 12 with Trae Young by his side, that Wemby, who has no point guard and a team full of guys that don't want to throw him the ball, having a guy that is averaging 11 assists a game and is a defensive liability, but when Victor Wembanyama is on the floor, you cannot enter into the paint. So even the defensive liability that Trae Young is.
Everybody on San Antonio playing like they playing for a contract. They're playing like they playing for a new deal. They're playing like they're in the summer league playing for.
I actually disagree with that. I think they're not, because if you was playing for a contract, you would say, I need to make him successful.
No. That's not what they're thinking. I feel you. Give the ball to the big guy. Let me make him look good. Again, a la what Draymond was doing for Steph. Let me help that guy out. Let me make sure he don't want to play without. No, but they're looking. I think everybody but Vassell. And I'm kind of disappointed in Keontae Johnson, who was that played in the Olympic, who went to the Olympic team. Kind of disappointed in him. I thought he was.
Oh yeah, Keldon Johnson.
Keldon, excuse me. But a lot of those guys, yes, are playing like they don't want to get him the ball for whatever reason. I don't know. They don't like French man. They don't like his sister. His sister didn't give him no play. I don't know what the deal is, but nobody wants to be friends with Wemby. It appears on that team. I don't know, man. I hear you. You make a valid point. If Trae's a number 1, he's a number 2 playing like the number 1. That might have something to do with it. That he's not the first guy I'm going to.
No, he is easily.
He wouldn't be the first guy I'm going to.
No, there's no other option in the league other than Trae Young.
I mean, because he's probably the most available guy.
No, because he's the best fit for that team. You don't need a defensive point guard. You don't need a scoring point guard. You need a playmaking point guard that can shoot. And, can you imagine a pick and pop with Trae Young and Victor Wembanyama? How you defend? And this is the crazy part. You could just, if you pop, we're going to call it PNP. What's that? Oh, that's a double option. They can choose if they want to pick and roll or pick and pop. Wemby really choose if he want to roll or if he want to pop.
So let me ask you this. We'll get back to the trade if you really want to talk about it. But let me ask you this.
No, I'm just saying, Wemby needs a guy like that in order for him to get to the championships that I think that he will be able to win. But him and Chet, they're not even on the same planet. They're not in the same universe. Wemby is an alien from outer space. And if he stays healthy, he will literally go down as the 5th or better greatest basketball player to ever play. And I honestly think he got a chance to finish his career And people regard him as a better player than they regard LeBron James, because Wemby is a guy that could realistically win 5 MVPs and 5 Defensive Player of the Year awards. He's a guy that could realistically average 4 blocks a game while averaging 30 points a game. He's a guy that can realistically give you 4 blocks a game, 1.5 steals a game, 30 points a game, 15 rebounds a game, and 5 assists a game. We've never seen anything like that other than Wilt Chamberlain, and Wilt Chamberlain couldn't shoot free throws and he couldn't shoot, period. This kid, did you see that Wemby step back 3 over Kyle Anderson where he was dribbling on the post, step back, shot a fadeaway, didn't even look at the ball go in the rim and ran down the court? He just made 20. So to me, the conversation between them two, it's not one. It's only a conversation because Chet didn't play last year. If he would have played last year, we wouldn't even be talking about this right now. But now that we are here, the NBA does need to lean into it. I got one topic that I want to talk to you about really quickly.
Hold on.
What you want to talk about?
Let me ask this question. As good as it all that you espoused over Victor Wembanyama, about all the potential that he has. We understand that he's not there today. We get it. However, the season that he's having, as good as the promise that we're showing, this might be blasphemous. I don't even feel right. I don't even feel right saying this.
No, you said it now. You started.
I don't even feel right saying this.
You know the rule. You start a take, finish the take. Start a take, finish the take. Don't.
How is his team? Won 12 games with Pop coaching the team?
Because they're losing games on purpose.
Oh, you think they're tanking on purpose?
Yeah, like
who are they taking for?
No, listen. Let me finish.
Go ahead.
I've obviously, because I like Wemby, I'm very entrenched in Spurs Twitter, and just listen to them talk. And basically, the Spurs have a bunch of draft picks over the next 3 years, basically, that'll be essentially good draft capital. I think even in the upcoming draft. Hold on, let me see. Hold on, wait a minute.
So this is a plan to acquire.
Wait a minute.
Acquire more talent.
So basically, the Spurs coming up this year, they have Toronto's pick, which is a top 1 to 6 protected pick. The Raptors are going to be in the lottery. So the Raptors will be in the lottery. So they'll have at least a 16th pick. They have their own first round pick this year. They also have a first round protected pick from Charlotte 1 through 14. So hopefully, if depending upon the way the balls fall for that, they would basically get hopefully either like outside lottery pick or someone that's like 15 or 16. So theoretically, if the ball's bouncing the Spurs way, the proper way this year, they could wind up with basically 3 lottery picks, right? And they have a second round this year. That's the Lakers' second round pick. They also have Doug McDermott coming off the books this year. And like they'll have like $40 to $50 million worth of cap room this year also to go out in the market and spend. So if you're the Spurs, it would be dumb for you to try to win when you know you're not going to win. Let's tank. Let's be bad. If the Spurs fuck around and get the number 1 pick, this draft is not. It has guys that are going to be good players. I don't think it has like that 1-star guy that everyone is looking after in the NCAA. But this draft is full of guys that are talented, that can dribble, and good wings. So if you're the Spurs, you're either going to use those 3 picks or you're going to find a team like the Hawks and say, hey, we got 3 lottery picks.
So you're gonna send them two lotteries?
We got 3 lottery picks, and we got enough cap room to absorb Trae Young's contract for a couple of these young guys. We'll give you Devin Vassell and Keldon Johnson and 2 firsts and a first in the future. Give us Trae Young, and then you go out. It's not a lot for Trae. It's not a lot. It's not a lot. No. Yeah. We got to stop acting like I get that Trae Young has missed the All-Star game because of the system and the voting, but this guy is still a guy that's averaged 25 and been top 3 in the league in assists. We've never seen anybody average this many points in assists and not make an all-star team. It's a literal fact. It's bullshit.
He's a leader and the team stinks. That's why.
The team ain't no fucking worse than LeBron team was when LeBron and them made the all-star game. They was just
Cleveland,
as bad.
Cleveland
No. When the Lakers made when LeBron and AD made the All-Star game this year, the Lakers were the 11th seed in the play-in.
You're right.
Don't give me the win. No, I don't know. No, because that's weak.
Name
weak.
Recognition and popularity contest. Absolutely.
Yes, but he got a big name. He just doesn't. It's just that what he did his first couple years, he went up so high his first couple years, and they have not been able to replicate. Call it luck, whatever. You play was in front of you. They have not been able to replicate it, and he gets penalized because of that. The same way Jason Tatum gets penalized by not being high in MVP voting, even though every year but that's my whole point with Trae Young. You're literally sitting here telling me that he doesn't win anything, even though he took his team to a conference finals. It doesn't matter. You play what's in front of you, Cam.
Your daughter wasn't born then. When they went to the finals, your daughter was not born.
You're a liar.
What are you talking about? She was not. Lola was not around then. And how is she walking and talking now? Ain't she in school by now? Come on,
they did that in 2021. My daughter was a year old. My daughter was born in October of 2020. My daughter was a year old. Stop it. Stop being disrespectful to Trae Young. He took his team to the conference finals. I don't know why you got this beef with Trae Young. I'm not saying he's the greatest. I'm not saying he's the best. I'm saying he's good at what he does.
They need a shooter who can draw somebody out and will still allow him to make the passes. I feel
So if you're the Spurs, you're going to either get really, really young and go and try to rebuild what OKC is doing with this youth movement, or you're going to trade those picks, go get a guy like Trae Young, and then you still have $30 to $40 million in cap room. Go get you some guys and fill out the roster. Like, to me, if I'm the Spurs, Wemby being as good as he is this year, before going into the season, I thought, okay, we got 4 years before we need to make the playoffs. Now I'm thinking we need to make the playoffs next year, and we should be thinking we can win a championship in 4 years, because this guy is as good as LeBron James. He's as good as Shaq. He's as good as David Robinson. He's as good as Wilt Chamberlain. He's as good as Magic Johnson. He's as good as all of those guys. So you either are going to pussyfoot and play around and make him angry and want to leave, or you're going to, because you can tell clearly now that the kid does not like losing. He does, like, every post game. You put up a stat line. Nobody, I don't care. We didn't fucking win. That's what he says every time.
Grab the mic though. When was the last time you seen a rookie grab the mic at post game and say, "Can I get a go Spurs go"? I don't think I've seen that.
Which is even more reason, as if I'm the San Antonio Spurs, you got to lean into this kid, build a roster around this kid, and don't think that, and don't take it for granted. Because the other thing about it is, he's a freak of nature. Freak of natures are fragile. We know that. Now LeBron happens to be impenetrable android robot, athletic robot, but Victor Wembanyama is a physical freak, and I don't mean that disrespectfully. I say that respectfully, because we've never seen anything like that before. So yeah, if you're the Spurs, we gonna try to build slowly, yeah, but you don't know if this physical fragile freak is going to stay in perfect physical condition. So to me, it's like it would be dumb for them to delay trying to accelerate their pace and their growth, waiting to be patient for the future, when we've never seen a kid that's 7'5" that can dribble like Kevin Durant, shoot like Kevin Durant, can play in the post, can block shots as good or better than Rudy Gobert, and he's only played 45 games.
Yeah, I hate bringing up the I word, and I'm not going to bring it up here, but it's amazing.
What's the I word?
It's amazing that the kid hasn't had a twisted ankle,
a
sprained elbow,
a
broken finger. I'm happy for all that. So, but I think
ergonomically his game doesn't, like, a lot of big guys, their game is the reason why they get hurt. Even like KD, you always see Kevin Durant on the floor. I very rarely see Victor Wembanyama. Even Embiid, you always see Embiid falling on the ground or hitting the ground. I never see this kid on the ground. he does a great job ergonomically of like making sure that his limbs and his body is within himself, so he doesn't lead himself to injury like a lot of guys who try to flail. That's also, I think, the benefit of him playing in that French league is like he's used to rugged defense and tough competition because he's a million times better than those guys. So of course they're gonna try to be physical with him and rough him up, but for him coming to this league, it's like, yeah, y'all physical, but like for me, it's more about the stamina than it is about the physicality. I need to just make sure I stay within myself and play my game rather than trying to become an NBA player. I think he's just staying himself versus you see guys come in the league and then all of a sudden they flopping and they doing all the stuff that they weren't doing before because they're trying to play by the NBA rules. And I just think he's just playing basketball because he wants to be great. And therefore, why do I need to be falling on the ground to try to get a charge? I'm just going to block his shot.
Yeah.
Versus Embiid, it's like, oh, I'm going to try to get a charge. Or when he Euro step, he going to hit somebody's leg on purpose so he can, get a layup. After you take 50 falls, something gonna break.
Yeah,
that's my only thing.
No, he's real good. I'm happy to get your perspective on that. But I think Wemby and Chet is a rivalry. It's interesting to hear you say if Chet actually played last season, it wouldn't even be a conversation. I find that pretty interesting. So yeah, kudos to Wemby and his trainers for keeping him healthy. Because they are doing some different stuff. If you remember, he stayed with his training staff until he got over here until after the summer league. Yeah. He stayed with the training staff, who's been training with him personally for like 3 years to get him to even ready for the NBA basketball. So kudos to them.
I didn't even know that. Good for them.
For getting the kid ready. Yep. But what else you got?
I got one last topic. The Bucks have improved. I think they've won 5 in a row now, although they've played some somewhat inferior competition. They played the Clippers on the 4th. The Clippers lost Russell Westbrook, fractured his hand, unfortunate injury. He's probably going to be out for at least 6 to 8 weeks. What are your thoughts on the Milwaukee Bucks and their improvements? I've seen some basketball people talk about how the Bucks have made some offensive improvements as it pertains to like Dame Lillard and his offense. They're starting to run screens up a lot higher near more of the center court and the logo, which allows him to be able to come off those screens and either get downhill or get that pull-up three, which is making life a lot easier for him. Obviously, you have Patrick Beverley there being the defensive pest that he is. He scored 14 points in the fourth quarter the other day versus the Bulls, and the Bucks win, in which Giannis, I think, had 46 points and 16 rebounds. He had 23 and 8 and something like that in the first half. What are your thoughts on the Bucks and their improvement? Do you think that Doc has finally figured it out? And what do you think is their ceiling? I'm very curious because I know that we've talked about Doc ad nauseum since he was coaching the Clippers. What do you think about what they're doing right now, and can they improve it?
I think their ceiling, real quickly, I think their ceiling is Eastern Conference Finals. I don't expect them to get to the NBA Finals and win it. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago. Getting Patrick Beverley, him moving to whether he plays, he's going to hold people accountable. Whether he's playing with the starters, Dame Lillard and Giannis, he's going to hold those guys accountable. But when he's on the bench or running that number 2 squad, him and Portis they're going to click, and they're going to be in sync to where they're going to intimidate some players just with their presence alone.
Oh, yeah, they were doing it versus the Bulls. They were fouling really hard. Even DeMar DeRozan got upset. Ayo Dosunmu got upset. There was a couple scuffles. Continue.
Yeah, they're gonna intimidate and frustrate a lot of their talent just with those two alone. Because now Portis isn't alone in the fact that don't take this the wrong way. He plays a tough guy game. He also can play. Actually, he's actually pretty good.
He's very
player.
good. He's actually turned into a great spot up shooter also.
But he has a tough guy mentality. Now you have him, and you have Beverly to unlock unlock that full tough guy mentality out of him, bring it out of him. They're gonna that second team is really gonna help Giannis and Dame do their thing. So if they're making these adjustments where now Dame feels more free, I think kind of that the All-Star game in a weird way kind of helped Dame. In fact, that I don't want to say rebuild his confidence, but allowed him to feel more confident with the Bucks. He's the thing that might be a problem for him moving along is you've heard him say recently he doesn't do anything because there's nothing doing.
He's also going through a divorce, which he filed for divorce.
Yeah, but dog, you're coming from Portland, so if he can get maybe it's a little colder in Milwaukee than it was in Portland, but so once it warms up, maybe you'll feel a little bit better. But nonetheless, if he's able to come into his game and Doc can make these minor adjustments to help him feel more freer, that's good, and that's kind of Giannis's responsibility too. Giannis tried to verbally in the press conference say this is his team. I think Giannis was going too far. But if Giannis can make him feel more comfortable on the floor, on the court, and help them build up that confidence to show him that I can play off you just as well as you need to play off me, that'll make the team better. So they're still trying to figure that out. But they're still number 4 in the East, man. The Eastern Conference isn't that challenging. I just don't expect them to beat Boston to get to the NBA Finals. That's my initial prediction. I don't think Embiid is going to come back soon enough to be a factor for the 76ers. So, I mean, who do they really have to beat? They really have to beat Boston, right?
Miami too. It's some about them. It's some about them boys down in Miami. Every when it's game time, they show up when it comes time for April. For me personally, I'm actually impressed with what I've seen from the Bucks. Kind of coming out of the All-Star game, and to me, most of it is just effort. I think a lot of what you saw with Adrian Griffin was what you see with Darvin Ham, where he's trying to rile the guys up and be that kind of guy that is the players coach guy that can get loud or have, or like command his respect or like, this is what I want to do. And I've seen reports that LeBron will change plays that Darvin Ham drew up, leaving the huddle like, nah, fuck that, and do something completely different. So when I look at the Milwaukee Bucks, I think, Doc brings that presence that you need. But also what I think that they were really missing was a passion leader. Bobby Portis is a physicality leader, but he's not a passion leader. And when I say a passion leader, I mean a passion leader as in like, all right, I got to stop. All right, cool. Let's get another one. You got to stop. Oh, okay, cool. Let's go. Oh, Giannis, yo, hey, like that kind of thing. And I think that they were missing that kind of voice before. I think a lot of people don't really take into account what it is that Patrick Beverley is able to do. And I think that what he does is really bring the team together. And a lot of people forget Pat Bev was averaging 30 points a game when he was in high school. So he's not a guy that never was able to put the ball in the bucket. He's just, developed his own specialty in the league as a defender and a shit talker. And the Bucks didn't have that energy. And I think now for the first time, probably since they won a championship, they have someone in the locker room that is not afraid to get in anybody's face and call them out in regards to their effort, more so than it is like, oh, you had a bad game. It's like, oh, you had a bad game, but you wasn't even rebounding, or you didn't go over that screen hard enough. Dame, you need to go over that, like, Dame, you should hit that screen harder. Someone like Draymond, when you see Draymond during, the mic'd up sessions where he's pulling the young guys to the side and like, yo, you should have iced, or you should have hedged that a little bit harder. Or you see Jalen Brunson going to the middle of the floor, take 2 steps up because we behind you in the lane. He not going to drive. He going to, like, that kind of thing. That's what they didn't really have before. And the fact that Pat Bev even patched up his relationship with Dame and they went to dinner, it just lets me believe that they have the tools necessary to win a championship. But the biggest thing for this team boils down to Chris Middleton. He has been a ton of mid lately. He has been hurt a lot lately, and I don't want to disparage him because he's a great player. But he has to be without a doubt the arguable second best player on the team for them to win a championship. Now,
he hasn't been that since they won the championship.
Exactly. And that's my problem, because what he allows for them to do is to get easy buckets when he's on. Now, he takes a lot of mid-range shots and things of that sort, but what makes him special is his ability to get easy buckets, whether it's catch and shoot, coming off a pick and roll in the mid-range, just a wide open mid-range shot, or a two-man game that he can run with Giannis or with Brook. That's what he was really effective in the finals and in the playoffs, running a two-man game with Giannis. But ever since his knee got messed up, he hasn't really been the same player. He hasn't had the level of movement that he needs to, and his shot hasn't been as fluid. His points are down, rebounds are down, assists are down. So for me, the biggest X factor on his team is Chris Middleton. Because unlike a Tobias Harris, where I don't really have faith in him in big games versus big teams, I've seen Chris Middleton, when Giannis fell out the sky, go out there and play, with all his heart against the Heat. And I've seen him, even when Giannis got hurt versus the Hawks that year, go out there and win playoff games as the number one guy. But they need him to do his job. And if he's not going to be there to fulfill that role, then that means guys like Pat Connaughton and Jay Crowder have to fulfill that role. And they just aren't that good. So it's my opinion on that.
Yeah, Beauchamp hasn't turned that corner like we expect him to do.
I expect him to take a big step this year, and he just hasn't.
Yeah, he hasn't taken that leap. So yeah, Portis, I mean, you can't expect him to fill that role. And yes, you're right. They haven't had that guy to put up buckets outside of Giannis, and now they got Dame. If you're saying you want Middleton to be the second guy,
I'm not. No. I'm not saying. I say I want him to be arguably the second best player on the team. Because if he's arguably the second best player on the team, you actually got a real juggernaut. Like, even looking at his numbers, right? He is averaging literally like 5 points less a game than he did when they won a championship.
Yeah, that's not going to get it done.
These numbers are not going to win. Like, he needs to be the 20-point per game scorer that he was when he was an All-Star. If he's not going to be able to do that, they're not going to win a championship. Because the one thing that I can say about the Celtics is they don't just go too deep. They go like 10 deep.
Yeah, they're 9 or 10 deep.
But 1 through 5 is crazy. But it's only crazy because KP is playing like he could be the second best player on the team. He's not, but he's playing up to that level. So therefore, Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum can just operate at their max capacity at their current level. Dame and Giannis, I don't believe, will be able to operate at their maximum capacity with him scoring 15 a game, because then that just relegates him to being another guy versus him being a guy that can be a game changer. And during that championship run, Chris Middleton was a game changer. And since he's been injured, he's just been a guy.
Yeah, so I think so. A bigger question you asked: can Doc make a difference? Can Doc unlock Chris Middleton, or is there anything left there to unlock?
And that might be the big question, because even looking at this, like, I didn't even realize Chris Middleton has been in the league 12 years.
Yeah,
how old is he? He's 32. He's old. He's old. He's old with knee problems.
That's what I'm saying.
It might be over for him.
Yeah, is there anything left there to unlock? And this is a run. Somebody got to answer that. But Doc had trouble getting something out of that third guy, a la
Tobias.
Tobias, yes, a la Tobias. Like, he just expected Tobias to come in there and get his 20. Although Tobias gave you 17 every night, but you could, if you ran a play or two for him more, that might get him over that 20-point hump. But if he runs a play or two for Chris Middleton, is that going to be a factor? Is he wasting minutes or taking the camaraderie away? That's yet to be seen.
To me, I think that even if you look at this column, this minutes per game, he's playing honestly the third lowest minutes he's ever played in his career. So to me, I think that they need to lean into him more. And if he is getting to the point where he is healthy, now is the time to actually say, hey, Chris, we need you to be as good as Dame, as good as Giannis. We believe you have that in you. We're going to put the onus on you to make that happen. We're going to put the ball in your hands. We're going to ramp your minutes up to get you more around 30. And let's try to go out and actually, like, win this, and you still be the guy and as valuable as you were when we won that championship, because this team only goes as far as Chris Middleton will allow them to go, because in the playoffs, what they're going to do is they're going to trap Dame a lot. They're going to send a lot of doubles. It's going to be a lot of screens where the big guy is going to rotate late on purpose, so that way they can try to force Giannis to make baskets in the post. They're going to pack the paint, which means that they're going to need mid-range and three-point shots to open that up a little bit and allow those driving lanes. Brook Lopez no longer has any desires to play inside of the post. He just wants to shoot threes and float. So you need guys that can play inside that'll open up versus those defenses, so that way you don't end up in a situation like you ended up where you lose to Miami because they just packed the paint. And I think that is, to me, the thing that makes the Bucks the most vulnerable. And I think if Doc is worth his money, that won't be an issue for them, because it's been an issue for them for the past, I would say, honestly, 6 years of teams packing the paint and being able to take Giannis Antetokounmpo out of his game. Now, I think Dame, he will be able to alleviate that some. But at the end of the day, I think you still need another playmaker in order for you to be dynamic enough to beat Philly, to beat Boston, to beat even a team like Indiana, who's had the Milwaukee Bucks number all year long. Right. You know what I mean? And even the thing about it is, like, he's not an all NBA level defender, but Chris Middleton is not a bad defender. He's a very solid defender. So even losing him on defense versus having to have an older and washed up Jay Crowder, you're losing on multiple fronts by not having Chris Middleton in that lineup and healthy. So if they can get him healthy, I think that they'll be able to figure it out. But Cam, I appreciate you for joining me on 2 for 1. I'm tired. I'm sure you are. I'm about ready to get up out of here. Talk to the people. Let them know where they can find you at. I appreciate you for joining me.
Thanks for having me. Feel free to join us every Wednesday night, Voice of the Fans, right here on this network, HNB Media. Thank you guys for calling us up. Also, fans, please tune in to voiceofthefans.org. Check out voiceofthefans.org. That's where you can find all of our content, from articles to the podcast to our exclusive videos. You can find all of our content there, voiceofthefans.org. Thank you for having me. And as always, fans, thank you for making our voice your choice.
All righty, that's my guy Cam Buford. I appreciate him. Thank you. Shout out to all of the fans from around the world that watched. I know I went on late, but I just felt like I got to get back to making the content, giving you all what you need. Continue to make sure this channel is fed with different voices and new styles, new visuals. We have a complete redesign coming for Hoops and Brews Happy Hour, as well as Hoops and Brews. Joe will be back on Hoops and Brews in March, so I'm very excited. I hope you all are. It's been a great show. Thank you all for tuning in. It's your boy TPJ. You all have a good night or good morning wherever you are. Until then, I'll get it with y'all later.
Gotta let you know you got an extra hold on me, on me, on me, on me, on me. I've been running on E. I may take you OT. Get hang time, game time, same time. I done running OT. You got a role to play, acting like you know me. Get hang time, game time, same time. I've been running O. Tell me what I'm doing wrong. Trying to find it back to your heart. Tell me what I'm doing wrong. What I affected from the start. Get you